Hello everyone. This is a public service announcement that the City of Dallas and the Mexican Consulate in Dallas are putting together. This is a part of a series of different PSAs that we have been putting together to inform the community in this time of crisis due to the new coronavirus. I am Edurne Pineda, Deputy Consul of Mexico here in Dallas, and we're thrilled to have today with us Liz Cedillo Pereira, who is Chief of Equity and Inclusion of the City of Dallas. Liz has been a champion, a real champion, of integrating the immigrant community of Dallas and helping them to reach their maximum capacity and ability to contribute in the best way possible to the success and future of the City of Dallas. So Liz, welcome. Thank you for this opportunity to interview you. You have always been a great friend and ally of the Mexican Consulate, and we are very appreciative of the opportunity to talk to you about the current health crisis and to learn about how the City of Dallas is preparing to support its people and especially the immigrant community. But first of all, I would like to ask you to please talk to us a little bit about the Office of Equity and Inclusion that you lead, about this big umbrella of different topics and offices and services that the Office or Department of Inclusion and Equity include.
Sure, and welcome to the City of Dallas, Consul. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
Even under these circumstances, it's always a pleasure to work hand in hand to serve our community. So I'm glad that you're here, and I hope you feel welcome.
I do, absolutely.
I'd love to tell you about our offices of equity and inclusion. We're really an umbrella of several offices within this sector of the city, and 6 offices, one being the Office of Environmental Quality, the other being Fair Housing and Human Rights, another office being the Office of Equity, another office being Office of Human Rights and Fair Housing. We also have our Office of Ethics, and finally our Office of Welcoming Communities and Immigrant Affairs. And it's this one that is striving to reach out to our community that's come from another country. We know that immigrants make up nearly a quarter of our population here in the City of Dallas. A very important part of our communities, a very important part of our schools, a very important part of our economy. And this office was set up and structured to meet the needs of our community who comes from another country.
That is fantastic, and we know that the City of Dallas, with this effort that you're just talking about, is point of lands. It's state-of-the-art in many ways in trying to integrate the immigrant community. So congratulations, and thank you always for this big effort and wonderful job that you do.
No, we couldn't do it without you, so thank you.
Thank you. So now trying to focus into today's topic, which is the current coronavirus crisis. I would like to ask you if you can talk to us a little bit about the emergency orders, the stay-at-home orders that different state and local authorities have been issuing. It can be a little bit confusing because we hear about different orders at different levels, state, county, city. Could you explain to us what is the current situation for the City of Dallas, please?
Yes, I'm pleased to explain the current orders, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that they are subject to change. And in fact, this morning, today is April 3rd, we've received new orders, not a new order necessarily, but an extension of the stay-at-home order that we're all abiding by. So in most cases, the City of Dallas is going to follow along the lines of what the county is doing in this regard, because they are the leader of public health in this area. So there's multiple cities in the Dallas County, and we are one of them, the biggest one, but we're following the guidance in most cases of what the Dallas County is doing. And the Dallas County voted and extended the stay-at-home order until May 20th.
Oh, until May 20th.
That's right. So that's brand new information that we want all of our community to know, that the stay at home or stay in the casa or stay in the house order is in effect at least until May 20th.
And Chief Cedillo, Liz, does this mean people cannot go outside, cannot leave their houses, Can they actually go out, buy groceries, take a walk around the block? What can they do and what they cannot do under this stay at home order?
I think we all know at this point how serious this situation is, how dangerous a virus the COVID-19 is. And so it was not without a lot of determination by our mayor and city council, our city manager, to say that everybody, please stay in the house. We had to shut down many of our businesses. And we know that Dallas area is known for our business, our commerce. And so that was a great effort on their part because of the public health necessity. So when we say stay in the house, it's only for the benefit of the people who make up our city and county. So yes, there are exceptions to this rule, and those exceptions are: consider it if you needed to do something to survive. And part of that is mental health. We know that you have to walk. We know that you have to get out. So yes, you can go outside and take a walk, but please do it with the respect that, or with regard to the fact that you have to maintain six feet of distance like we are today. Consulate. And it's also to maintain certain work that's deemed essential, and I can go into what is considered essential. Yes. And also to go to the food store, to the grocery store, to purchase food for your family or for a loved one who can't get out into the community, and to take care of essential medical necessities. Of course, if you're feeling symptoms of the virus, you would want to go and get tested immediately.
There's, two questions that I would like to ask you and see if you can talk to the community about these two specific things. The first one is that there is out there, I believe, some misunderstanding about how the virus affects young people. Some people have thought to be immune to the virus. So could you talk about why young people need to be responsible as well? And also, I wanted to ask you about why some people believe that these measures are way too strict for the current situation of the city of Dallas. As of today, yesterday, for example, the city of Dallas had 830 cases of infections, as opposed to examples as the city of New York City, which yesterday had 50,000 cases registered. So there's a big difference. Why is Dallas taking such strong measures if we are so apparently far away from New York City?
I'll take the first question first about children.
Sure.
Right. The message is out there that it doesn't affect children. Well, that is not accurate. It does affect children, and many times children or anybody could be asymptomatic and still be infectious and carrying it with them. So maybe they won't be as impacted as our seniors would be, or people who have an underlying health condition, but certainly they could carry it and cause others to be ill. So think of your grandparents, think of your parents, think of your tios, uncles and aunts who could be affected by a young person, and certainly a young person could contract the illness and has.
Yes, and we are we're very far away from cities like New York City in the number of cases. Why is Dallas taking such strong measures when it appears to be so far away in numbers?
Right. Well, we know that this is an exponential situation, that one day everything is as normal and the next day we see what we're seeing in other big cities, right? But what we know is that the city of New York is about 2 weeks ahead of us. And so that's why we have these very strict rules, these very staunch orders to stay in the house, because we want to prevent ourselves from having that circumstance. And so we're trying to flatten the curve, as they say, so that we don't have the situation that other big cities are facing. We have to listen and learn from the experiences of other cities, and certainly they're reaching out to cities like ours to let us know, what do you need to do to be ready, City of Dallas? And we're listening and acting on those lessons learned.
Great. Thank you so much for that explanation. So all these measures, which are totally necessary, but also very strong, have unfortunately also impacted in a very negative way the economic activity. And this has caused many people to even lose their jobs, or many of them having to work from home. What happens if somebody cannot work from home? What happens if somebody loses their employment? Does the city of Dallas offer any resources, any help for this type of people, for this type of cases?
We have turned as a city to look to what the most critical needs are at this moment, Consul. We know that there are certain people who are lucky to be able to work at home in this moment, but there are many people who work paycheck to paycheck or work in the service industry and have to be out doing their work. And we know that it's going to be impacting them. So we're maintaining connections with other officials at the federal government level to see what relief is going to be available for our residents. And we're hoping to make those connections to direct resource to individuals. For example, the Paycheck Protection Program that was just passed within the last week. It has a broad and inclusive definition of those who are going to be eligible to apply for this loan. And when I say it's a loan, I want people to understand that that is sort of misleading, because it is forgiven as long as you use it for the purpose of maintaining your workforce. So there's a few requirements, but you can be a contractor working on a W-9, or you could be a sole proprietor, and that's very important for our immigrant community. Many of them who are small business owners, many of them who have hair salons, construction companies, et cetera, work in the food industries, restaurants. As long as they maintain their workforce throughout the length of this period of time, they can apply for that. And so please talk to your banks and understand what that is. And our community, including people who work with us at the city, have been very instrumental to, at that level in Congress, to say we need everybody included, because we know that there are resources that are not going to be available to people who are impacted in our communities.
Yes, thank you. And would you have any comment in regards to the utilities, the payments that every household has to make every month to pay for energy and water? And is there any type of resource that they can look up in your webpage? You have a great webpage in that regard, so could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, first of all, I would like to say how proud we are of our public affairs office, who's working around the clock to update our website and keep it current with the resources that are there. We have a page at dallascityhall.com/COVID-19, and people can find our banner there on the front page of the website. And I know that not everybody has a computer in their house, but most of us have a cell phone, right? Mm-hmm. So you can orient it to cell phone and it'll come right up. Everything is in English and Spanish. For guidance, it's changing daily. We're trying to update it daily so that people will have the resources they need at hand. And there is a page on there that says community resources. And we have a whole list of those companies that are working with our community to ensure that utilities are not cut off or that there's extensions, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't have every single detail, but if you call my office and you have a question specifically to what your need is, we will find a resource on this page or seek one if we can't find it. Yes.
I've had an opportunity to check on that webpage, and I really would like to congratulate you and your office, because it is such a great resource. So I would encourage our community to look it up. And I believe you can make searches using a zip code. Is that correct?
That's right. We have a new service there. It's called the Welcoming Hub or the Community Resource Hub. And we're working with a service provider to ensure that every resource in the community that is listed on this website is available to all of our residents. So it's put in your zip code and put in your need, and there should be options available to you on whatever that need is, if it be food, if it be utility assistance, if it be work, et cetera. So we're working around the clock to make sure that we can deliver services to people, that even if the city is not in charge of those services, working with our philanthropic community, working with private industry to ensure that whatever resources out there, that we're letting our community know about it.
And speaking about services that are specifically linked to the city, has there been any resolution or any decision in regard to water services?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. For Dallas Water, the Dallas Water Department, of course, has extended payments. That you could be on a payment plan. Nobody's service will be cut off during this situation we're all facing. The important thing is, Consulate, is that people reach out to the water department here at the city to let us know that you need to be on a payment plan or you need to have an extension of payment, because that step that the person takes is going to be resolved, but that step should be taken so that we know.
They need to reach out to the Dallas Water Department.
That's right, and you can find that also on the website.
Yeah, great, thank you. And I also would like to ask you, Liz, about evictions, which is a great concern. This is the beginning of the month, as you know, and many people may not have the resources to pay for their rent, unfortunately. And how can you possibly stay at home if you don't have a home? So can you tell us anything about evictions?
Right. Well, that is a situation that we're all concerned about, and we know that the community is working with pro bono lawyers to help people who have these situations. But what the Texas Supreme Court did was to provide some protections for people who have a need for relief, and so there is a moratorium on evictions at the state level. There's also a moratorium on evictions here at the county level, and the justices of the Peace Court, which has the court that has jurisdiction over evictions, is not hearing new cases at this time. That order is in effect until with 60 days. And so what is the date that it ends?
I believe it is May 18th.
So the day that it ends is May 18th. And we will look at it. We're also studying ways at the city that we can look to provide other forms of assistance. And in fact, that is going to be deliberated by the City Council Committee this week.
Great. That's great news, and we believe at the Consulate that's very relevant. And we know that another great resource you have within your police department is the program called Unidos. Could you talk to us a little bit about this program and how the program can help the community in this time of crisis?
Unidos stands for the police department united with our Spanish-speaking community. And over the last year, it has been very strengthened because now we have a Unidos officer in every sector of the city.
Wow.
And it has expanded. We're very proud of this initiative that was taken under Chief Hall to reach out to our community who is Spanish speaking so that they know that there should be no wall between serving all of our community. And so if anybody wants to know more about the Unidos program, you can find that on our website as well, and we're happy to connect you with them. But what they want you to know is that you should not be afraid to report crime. You should not be afraid to be a victim of violence and report crime or any other crime. That we're there, and we're there to protect and serve all of our residents.
Regardless, of course, of their immigration status.
We're there to serve all of our residents, and that's not a concern of us when we're trying to go out and protect and serve.
Thank you. Talking about services, the main concern many times could be medical services. But within our immigrant community, we know there's a lot of people who do not have a regular immigration situation or status, and many of them might be afraid of coming forward to request any type of services, or maybe afraid about their families being affected. What can you tell us about this? If an undocumented immigrant feels sick and believes he or she might be affected by the coronavirus, can they actually come forward and look for medical services?
Absolutely. No one should be afraid to seek public health services in this moment. And last week, the city manager, Mr. T.C. Broadneck, who's my boss, and we put out a letter and a newsletter to our community. It's called the Equity and Inclusion Newsletter, and it's also in Spanish and English, and we'll be doing one for every 2 weeks and covering different topics. But in the last edition, we wanted people to know that any city service that's available is available to all of our residents, irrespective of your immigration documentation status. So if you are feeling the symptoms of this COVID-19, then we urge you to please come to one of our centers. There's 2 of them currently, to have a test. There's no cost to this test. If you do come, you can bring any form of ID that you might have, as long as it has your name and your photo on it, it's sufficient.
So you just mentioned this, I believe you have 2 sites, community sites for testing.
That's right.
Would the addresses for these community sites be in your webpage as well?
Certainly. The 2 sites are American Airlines Center and Ellis Fieldhouse, which is in southern Dallas, and their exact address and location are listed there on the website.
And is there any criteria, like symptomatic criteria somebody has to present to have access to this free testing?
Right. If you're experiencing a fever, if you're experiencing shortness of breath, having difficulty breathing, and you feel like you have a cough, then yes, those are the 3 symptoms that need to be reflective if you're going to seek one of these tests. Of course, if you wanted to check in with your private physician and seek medical care, you can also do that. But in order to present for a test at one of these at these locations, those symptoms must be reflective in your person.
And this is because these are community sites for testing, which are for free. So that's why you're following certain criteria. But if somebody knows that he or she might have been in contact with somebody with COVID-19, and they are not presenting any symptoms yet, but they would like to get the test, are there private facilities around Dallas that they could have access to as well?
Oh, there are private facilities, and we suggest that when you can get care, to get care. But these 2 sponsored locations are for those people who are presenting. But please, if you do feel like you need to be checked, then there's also telehealth services that are being made available at different hospitals and clinics.
Well, thank you so very much, Chief Cedillo. Liz, amiga de la comunidad y del consulado, thank you so much again for the opportunity to talking to you, speaking to you today about this situation, giving advice to the community, and also explaining how hard the City of Dallas is working through your umbrella of services and offices to help the community. Thank you so much.
While we may not be physically present for our community right now, we certainly are present and working. So if somebody needs to contact us, please let them know that we are available at 214-671-5087, and we will do our best to connect their need with a service or direction for services that the person might be needing at that moment. So thank you for coming today, Consul. It's always a pleasure to see you, and please stay well, and best wishes to you and your family.
Thank you. Likewise, thank you. Thank you to Liz Cedillo for this important message to the community. Thank you so much.